Zap, 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 lightning, zap, zap, lightning, lightning.
Hello, it's me, the Lego Dude, and in today's video, I will be talking about every single Lego Star Wars set that is supposed to be retiring in 2022. The sets that are on this list I will organize into 3 categories. The first one is sets that I think they retired too early, the second is sets I think they retired too late, and the third is sets I think they retired at just the correct time. I will also be talking about at the end sets that they probably should have retired, but they won't be retiring in 2022. Starting off in the category of sets that should have retired earlier is the 75317, the Mandalorian and the Child Brickheads. For such a small set, it's abnormal for it to have a shelf life as long as it has, but I think they should have retired it at the end of 2021 and not at the end of 2022. The next set I think should have retired earlier is the 75255 Yoda. It's been out for I think the same amount of time as the Mandalorian and the Child Brickheads, and even though it's a $100 set and bigger sets are usually out for longer periods of time, I think that this set should have also retired at the end of 2021 instead of at the end of 2022. The next set is the 75293 Resistance ITS Transport. I'm pretty sure this set didn't sell that well and only sold decently, but for a set that's only sold decently, I think that it should have only had a life of 1.5 years. Giving it 2.5 years is odd considering other sets that sell better, they've given shorter lifespans. The last set in this category is this Junior's 4 Plus Resistance X-Wing. This set cost $20 and only had 60 pieces, and even though price per piece doesn't really matter that much, this set just looks too small for $20. I think that this set sort of only had a 1-year lifespan, but instead they're giving it a 2-year lifespan, which is ridiculous considering some other actually really good sets only get 1 or 1.5 year lifespans. Now moving on to the next category of sets that retired at just the correct time. Since LEGO is really good at choosing when to retire their sets, most of the sets that are retiring in 2022 are on this list. The first set on this list is the 75283 Armored Assault Tank, which released in summer of 2020. Even though this set was not as well received as it could have been because of the long barrel on it, I think it was a pretty decent set that sold pretty well, which is why 1.5 year lifespan seems pretty solid for this set. The next set is the 75315 Imperial Light Cruiser, which I think had a pretty solid lifespan at 1.5 years. Now the next set is the 75298 AT-AT versus Tauntaun Microfighter, which will retire at the end of the year, giving it a 2-year lifespan. For Microfighter set, that's a pretty good lifespan, but I think Microfighters are on the way out, as you'll see later in the video when I give an extra explanation on a different Microfighter that is retiring. The next set on the list is the Imperial Shuttle, which released in January 2021 and will be retiring at the end of 2022. A 2-year lifespan for a decent sized set like this seems pretty good. The next set on our list is the Boba Fett's helmet, which has been out I think 2.5 years, maybe 3, and for helmet sets I think they should be out longer than a normal set because they are pretty much a display piece, so I think having them for longer than a playset seems reasonable. Now going rapid fire through the next 3 sets, we have the Trouble on Tatooine, which will have been out for 2 years when it retires, the Scout Trooper helmet, which will have been out for 2.5 or 3 years when it retires, and the Imperial Probe Droid, which will have been out for 1.5 years when it has retired. All of these lifespans seem reasonable for these sets. And the last 3 sets that are retiring at just the right time are the Millennium Falcon Microfighter and also the Dulon Mandalore. The Millennium Falcon Microfighter will have been out for 2 years for a microfighter that's a pretty good lifespan, and the Dulon Mandalore will have been out for 1.5 years when it retires. And the last set in this category I thought deserved extra time because it's one of the biggest LEGO Star Wars sets ever made, and that is the 75252 Imperial Star Destroyer. I think this is one of the best LEGO Star Wars sets ever, even though I don't own it, and it looks like a great LEGO Star Wars set. I think it cost $800 and was released 4 or 5 years ago. I think that with these ginormous LEGO Star Wars sets, the trend is that their lifespans are lasting longer and longer. I even think that the UCS Millennium Falcon might be out for a decade. I think that for the Imperial Star Destroyer, a 4 or 5 year lifespan is pretty good for this set, as it's one of the biggest LEGO Star Wars sets ever. Moving on to the next category, we're going to go over all the sets that I think they retired too early. There's not that many of them because there's only 6 sets that in my opinion they retired too early, but let's get started going over them. The first one is the Armorer's Mandalorian Forage, which I think they should have given an extra 6 months or an entire year, because I think for a set this good, 1.5 years isn't long enough. The next is the Mandalorian Starfighter, which is only going to be out for a year and a half when they retire it, and for a set also this good, I think they should have given it an extra year. The next set in this list is the 75314, the Bad Bad Shuttle, and I'm very perplexed as to why they've retired this set, only giving it a year and a half lifespan, even though with the second season of the Bad Batch coming out this year, it would have been profitable to keep it for another year. I'm also assuming a third season of the Bad Batch will release in 2023, which is why I thought that having the Bad Batch Shuttle out for an extra year would be profitable. Another set that I think they were retiring too early is the Darth Vader's Meditation Chamber. A lot of people call this set overpriced, but it does have a really big base that accounts for a large piece count, and it does look like a nice set. I think 1.5 years isn't long enough for this set, and giving it 2 years would have been adequate. The next set, I think they should have given an extra 2 or 3 years, and that's the Imperial Armored Marauder. It's a good, cheap way to get a bunch of Stormtroopers and a Stormtrooper vehicle, including an Artillery Trooper. It's also a good way to get the exclusive Grief Cargo minifigure, and you would have duplicates if you bought multiples of these sets, but then you'd also have several Imperial Armored Marauders, and if you bought duplicates, it would be a really easy way to get lots of Stormtroopers. I really think they should have kept this set around until 2024. And the last set on this list, which is my reasoning for thinking that microfighters are on the way out and will probably never be made in LEGO again, is that the Wazer Quest microfighter will be retiring at the end of the year. My reasoning for that is that most LEGO Star Wars sets are out for at least a year and a half, or more likely 2 years if they were released in January. But almost no LEGO Star Wars sets release at release and are only around for 1 year. Another evidence backing this up is that it used to be 4 microfighters a year, but now we're only getting 1 microfighter a year. Last year there was 2 microfighters, but this year there's only 1 microfighter, which I think means they're slowly transitioning out of microfighters, and eventually they're going to make a new line of $10 sets. Leave your speculation in the comment section down below on what you think this new line of sets could be. Now we're going to go over 4 LEGO Star Wars sets I think should have reached the end of their lifespan but actually won't be retiring this year. The first of these sets is the Rise of Skywalker Millennium Falcon, which will be in its 4th or 5th year of being around. That's kind of surprising, as this is just a normal mainline playset, and I don't think that it should have been around this long. The next set is the Wazer Quest, which has been out for almost 3 years I think, and I think that it should have retired now, but it's not retiring this year, but will probably retire next year. The second to last set on this last category is the Grogu buildable character. It's not exactly a display set, but it's also not exactly a play set. It just kind of falls in the middle as a buildable character, but I think it should have retired this year anyway. And the final set on this list is the Darth Vader helmet. Even though it was released at the same time as the Scout Trooper helmet and the Boba Fett helmet, which are both retiring, the Darth Vader helmet is the only helmet from 2020 that is going to survive another year. I think that the reason for this is that Darth Vader is a famous Star Wars character, and even if the helmet is slightly inaccurate or very inaccurate depending what you think, that it sells extremely well. Now that is every single set that is retiring or not retiring in the year of 2022. Leave your comments in the comment section down below on your opinion on which sets should have retired and which sets shouldn't have retired. If you've made it this far in the video, type Darth Vader in the comment section alongside your comment please. Also remember to subscribe to my channel and leave a like on this video. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. Bye.
Created by the Lego Dude. Produced by the Lego Dude. Directed by the Lego Dude. Paid for by the Lego Dude. Edited by the Lego Dude. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave a like.